Part 38. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 371. Chapter 371 only takes 1/5 of the time. Oh, so that's it? This is the first time Xia Ying heard Yu Lingfeng talk about her planet and her family. Although Xia Ying may be a little unable to accept it for a while, judging from Yu Lingfeng's calm and composed appearance, she must have adapted to this lifestyle. Since everyone else had gone out and Xia Ying was at home alone, Yu Lingfeng stayed. Xia Ying finished practicing the piano and took a break before starting to write homework non-stop. The time now cannot be wasted. Although Yu Lingfeng didn't understand why Xia Ying was racing against time, but since it was a good thing that Xia Ying was so diligent, Yu Lingfeng simply stayed with her, watched her do her homework, and read some books by the way. As for 11 Ju, Xia Ying forced her to watch how steel was tempered. This kind of tough guy book is very suitable for 11 Ju to absorb more. 11 Ju is a curious baby and wants to dabble in everything. Although he didn't like the title of the book that Xia Ying gave him at first, he simply thought that it was a book that teaches you how to make iron. It wasn't until 11 Ju opened it and read a few chapters that he realized that he was wrong. Moreover, 11 Juju was also quickly attracted. Xia Ying was working at her desk very seriously, and Yu Lingfeng was also reading quietly. It was the first time for 11 Ju to read such a book, and his blood boiled with excitement. At this time, Xia Ying's cell phone rang, and it was a call from Jun Chennai. Xia Ying's cell phone was placed in the center of the table. When Xia Ying heard the sound and was about to reach out for it, Yu Lingfeng stretched out her long hand and took the cell phone over. Then she motioned to Xia Ying and said, "Go on and do your homework." Xia Ying nodded. She didn't see clearly who made the call, but she didn't think much about it because she was currently worrying about a very complicated physics question. Yu Lingfeng lowered his head and glanced, saw the note self-righteous and arrogant young master, and quickly identified Jun Chennai as his target. Yu Lingfeng slowly swiped left to hang up, then raised his eyebrows, suddenly wanting to know what Xia Ying's note was for him. Yu Lingfeng looked through Xia Ying's address book, and suddenly his eyes lit up and he saw it was the cold Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng pursed her lips slightly and tapped on the screen with her long, white fingers. Xia Ying raised her head slightly and looked at Yu Lingfeng's movements. What was Yu Lingfeng doing? After Yu Lingfeng finished everything, he put his cell phone back on the spot and continued reading with a calm look, as if nothing happened. Xia Ying didn't think much about it. Yu Lingfeng probably wouldn't do anything weird anyway. He probably took her cell phone to look up some information. After a while, 11 Ju suddenly put down the book, his eyes red with shame. This book is really good to read. Xia Ying was surprised. She looked at 11 Ju and asked, "You finished reading it so quickly?" Yu Lingfeng silently added, "How else do you think 11 Ju was able to read a shelf of comics a day before? Zihu is a robot after all, and his reading speed is much higher than that of humans. So for him, he only needs 1/5 of the time of an ordinary person for the same book. Then go look for it yourself, there are many books to read over there." Xia Ying pointed the way to a specific bookshelf for 11 Ju to prevent him from randomly picking up the wrong books. Okay. Zihu, who had just finished reading the book, seemed to be unfinished, so he ran over to get the book to read. Thanks to the little cutie Lian Chugxia for the reward. In PK, please vote for recommendation. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 372. Chapter 372. Have you grown up eating cute food? When Chu Sensio arrived at the appointment place, he opened the box door and found Tanguo already sitting there obediently. This was the first time Chu Sensio saw Tanguo's private clothes. Before, he had seen her wearing evening clothes during competitions. Tanguo's private server is in the Japanese style. She is a kawaii little loli, so the Japanese style suits her very well. Tanguo was wearing a pink and white suit, with two slender legs wearing white stockings exposed under the short skirt. Although Tanguo is not tall, her body proportions are relatively good, so she doesn't look short. Her legs are very beautiful, straight, and well proportioned, the kind that many girls would envy. Tanguo wore very light makeup, which is invisible to straight men. Her skin foundation is very good, so she looks very beautiful even with light makeup. In addition, she has a pair of big bright eyes that are as dazzling as stars, a small mouth, and a small but tall nose. These are her plus points. This Tanguo, could it be that he grew up eating cute food? From her figure to her facial features, she is so adorable. Moreover, his voice is also very sweet, and his words are as pleasant to the ears as a clear spring. Tanguo flashed her big eyes with long eyelashes and stared straight at Chu Sensio, as if she could see flowers. Hi. Chu Sensio took the initiative to say hello to her. Little Candy, you are really getting cuter and cuter. Tanguo smiled shyly, her eyebrows were curved, and she looked really good looking. You are becoming more and more handsome. Tanguo seemed to be exchanging business blows, but she actually felt so sincerely. In Tanguo's eyes, every time she saw Chu Sensio, he would be so dazzling, and he seemed to be more handsome in her heart. Chu Sensio sat down opposite Tanguo, looked at the menu in front of him, and asked her, Little Candy, what do you want to eat? I'm not picky about food, just order whatever you want, and I'll eat whatever you want. Tanguo said with a smile. Chu Sensio raised his eyebrows and said casually, it's so easy to make a living. Tanguo blushed unnaturally. In fact, she is really easy to take care of. Chu Sensio, do you want to try to take care of me? Although Tanguo said that she was not picky about food, when Chu Sensio ordered dishes, he still asked her for her opinion on every dish he ordered. Tanguo nodded in agreement, so Chu Sensio quickly ordered the dishes and handed the menu to the waiter. Tanguo held her face in her hands, stared at Chu Sensio opposite, and asked, Chu Sensio, are you studying in China now? Chu Sensio nodded, studying as a graduate student at Imperial University, first year. Tanguo lowered his eyes and secretly made up his mind that he must go to Imperial University to attend college. However, she still had 2 years to go to college, and 2 years later, Chu Sensio just graduated. Then after you finish graduate school, will you continue to study for a PhD? Chu Sensio frowned, I will be old by then, so I will just get a master's degree. I will start my own business after I finish my degree. Start a business. Tanguo's eyes lit up. Sure enough, Chu Sensio was a very ambitious person. Then, Chu Sensio continued, yes, open an entertainment company to praise my cousin Xiaoying. You must know that her cousin Sakura is Thornbird. Thornbird is currently not signed with any entertainment company. Although it seems to be good, without the support of a company, Xiaoying will become more famous in the future and has a long way to go. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 373. Chapter 373 He wants to be Xiaoying's backstage. Although most people on the internet have an admiring attitude towards the thornbirds, the most indispensable species on the internet is trolls. Chu Sensio naturally felt sorry for his cousin. After knowing that his cousin Xiaoying was a thornbird, he made up his mind to be his cousin Xiaoying's backstage. As long as he is here, no one can bully his cousin Sakura. Cousin Sakura. Tanguo frowned in confusion. The one you know is Xiaoying, the Xiaoying who participated in the San Diego competition with you. Chu Sensio explained. Tanguo suddenly realized that the reason she saw Chu Sensio looking at Xia Ying unusually that day was because she was his cousin. Tanguo suddenly felt secretly happy. She had misunderstood their relationship at first. Now it seems that Chu Sensio is still single, and she still has hope. Wow, I'm so envious of Xia Ying, you are so kind to your cousin. Tanguo held his face in his hands and said. Chu Sensio smiled faintly and said, I am just a cousin. If I am not good to her, who should I be good to? From this point of view, she was really right about Chu Sensio. A boy who loves his sister so much and has no evil intentions is really very lovable. Tanguo is an only child, so she has always envied those girls who have older brothers who love them. Like many girls who don't have a brother, she has always felt that God owes her a brother, and a brother like Chu Sensio. Actually, my cousin Xiaoying was bullied by me a lot when she was a child. She was naughty when she was a child. In addition, every time cousin Xiaoying came to country S, she became the focus of the entire family. She was simply praised to the heavens. Before she came, I am the youngest and most favored in the family. When she came, I was no different from a weed. So when I was a child, I felt that she had taken away my love, so I always bullied her. She was too young to beat me. I always bullied her to tears, so I jokingly called her Snot Girl when I was little, haha, although every time I bullied her, I would be beaten by the whole family. As soon as Chu Sensio talked about Xia Ying, he couldn't stop at all. He even wanted to talk to Tanguo about the feeling of déjà vu for 3 days and 3 nights. Tanguo was originally afraid that she would have nothing to talk about. Now it seems that it is actually not bad to talk about Xia Ying. After all, Chu Sensio was willing to talk about this topic, so Tanguo simply became a quiet listener. Cousin Sakura hasn't been to S country much since she went to school, except for visiting her grandfather's house during the Chinese New Year. But every time I go to my grandfather's house to pay New Year's greetings, I almost never run into her. So, she and I haven't seen him for several years. Chu Sensio continued, I just didn't expect that I would see her again in gossip magazines and on the internet. It was about the scandal she had with Jun Chennai some time ago. Because Jun Chennai is famous, any scandal would be unreasonable. Reports are coming to country S. Actually, I also find it quite strange. We haven't seen her for so long, and we have always been friends when we were young. Now that I see her again, I actually like her very much. Inexplicably, I want to protect her and look down on her. As if he was wronged, Chu Sensio said with a smile on his face. Tanguo listened quietly. She originally wanted to start the conversation with Chu Sensio from Xia Ying, but an hour later, Tanguo only said 3 sentences from beginning to end, and they were all related to Xia Ying related. Chu Sensio has been talking about it since he was a child, and he has no intention of stopping. Tanguo smiled awkwardly. Why did she feel like a light bulb? Thanks to the little cutie 7-year-old cool master for the reward. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 374. Chapter 374 turns out to be a girl control. Well, Chu Sensio, do you have anything else to do after dinner? Tanguo interrupted weakly. Although she felt it was very impolite to interrupt someone else's speech, Tanguo felt that if she didn't interrupt, Chu Sensio would keep talking. She might even be able to think of the names of Xia Ying's future children when they get married. This Chu Sensio turns out to be a girl control. Oh, it's okay, Chu Sensio responded casually, then frowned, thought for a while, and muttered, where did I just talk? Tanguo then interrupted, then let's go watch a movie. Qinya has a new movie released, and it seems to have a good reputation. Hearing the long-lost name Qinya, Chu Sensio frowned, his face darkened, and he said angrily, Qin scumbag. Don't tell me you are his fan. Chin, scum. Tanguo was stunned when he heard this title, and looked at Chu Sensio with a blank face. What's wrong with him? Looking at Chu Sensio's appearance, it seems that he doesn't dislike Chinya in general. Chu Sensio's face was full of disgust. He simply didn't want to recall the bad things Chinya did at Xia Ying's last birthday party. The kind of person who is actually still hanging around in the entertainment industry and seems to be doing well. Chu Sensio knew that Chinya's recent movie had a good reputation. Because of that movie, Chinya got rid of the title of ace and allowed everyone to see his acting skills. However, no matter how good his acting skills are, this person is really scumbag to the core. When he and Xiao Na were hyping up CP before, they would hug each other's thighs. Because of Xiao Na, Chinya didn't know how much his popularity increased. As a result, something happened to Xiao Na, and Chinya immediately distanced himself from the relationship, saying that they had broken up long ago. Even the content on Weibo secretly insinuated that the two broke up because of Xiao Na's bad character. In short, this person was like a pug when it was profitable, and had no interest in him anymore, so he quickly kicked her away. Moreover, not only that, this person also looked down on Ye Xiaoxun as a child from an ordinary family. I don't know where Chinya got his sense of superiority. He has such a bad character, and he got to the position of a first-line actor because of the hype and unspoken rules along the way. Oh, and variety shows sell all kinds of false characters that are completely inconsistent with themselves. To be honest, it is only the uninformed fans outside the screen who are cheering for him. Who in the entertainment industry does not know Chinya's urinary nature? Chu Sensio, an outsider, could immediately see this person's true nature. In short, he is not a good person. If you are a fan of him, you should stop being a fan of him as soon as possible to avoid making yourself sick in the future. Chu Sensio talked and then took a sip of juice. Moisten his throat. He just talked about Xia Ying without even taking a breath, but now his throat is almost smoking. Tanguo smiled slightly and said, I'm not a fan of his. I don't fan of celebrities in the entertainment industry. I only fan of talented people in the music industry, such as the little music prince Stefan. Tanguo is quite envious of Xia Ying being in the same school as Stefan and being taught by the world-class music master Modexi. She was really only one step away from the beginning. She had been torn between number 5 and number 6. Then she suddenly wrote number 5, and then she missed Master Modzai. Thanks to the little cutie Napnxinun for the reward. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 375. Chapter 375. This is the power of love. That's good. Chu Sensio finished drinking the juice and said with emotion. Then let's go to the concert after dinner. Since Chu Sensio doesn't want to watch a movie, it should be okay to attend a concert, right? Chu Sensio frowned. He practiced various musical instruments in Xia Ying at home every day and listened to music every day. He was really almost tired of listening to it. So, he wanted to change his tune. Let's go to the amusement park. The amusement park in the Imperial City is pretty good. The largest one, Mizuki-jiwa, is particularly nice. Chu Sensio suggested. Wow, is it true? Tanguo's eyes shone brightly. To be honest, she hadn't been to the amusement park for a long time. When he was in the United States, Tanguo had to take care of study and music every day, so he was very, very busy. Playing with this kind of thing is really too luxurious for her. If she had time, Tanguo would rather lie in bed and sleep a little longer, because she really wanted to rest. However, when she was with Chu Sensio, Tanguo felt as if she had been given a shot of chicken blood all the time, especially energetic and energetic. Could it be that this is the power of love? Tanguo thought so, lowered his head and showed a shy smile. Chu Sensio stood up and saw that Tanguo had lowered his head and remained silent for a long time, So he reminded Luju, "What are you doing? Let's leave now." "Okay." Tanguo quickly reacted from his thoughts, then picked up his Pikachu backpack and followed Chu Sensio like a pretty little daughter-in-law. Chu Sensio is tall and handsome, while Tanguo is petite and cute. The two of them are walking side by side on the road. The most adorable height difference makes them look perfect. Moreover, both of them are extremely good looking, and they match each other very well, attracting many eyes on the road. Even though Chu Sensio was wearing sunglasses, many true fans still recognized him. "Wow, is that Chu Sensio? How do you know it's Chu Sensio and not Chu Shengming?" "Because brother Xiu's hair is brown and brother Ming's hair is black, it's easy to recognize them. I'm so envious of that little girl next to Chu Sensio. Is she Chu Sensio's friend?" There was some noise on the road. Tanguo was walking on the inside and didn't hear much of the discussion of the girls. He only heard something brown and black. But Tanguo didn't think deeply about it. Her whole body and mind were now focused on Chu Sensio. She didn't even have the time to care about what happened outside. Chu Sensio and Tanguo got into the car. Because they hadn't been to the imperial capital of China for a long time, Tanguo kept the car window open the whole time, staring outside curiously with his big eyes open. The imperial capital is indeed prosperous, and the buildings are also very beautiful and unique. Moreover, the imperial capital of China is very clean, the greening is very good, and the overall quality of the citizens is also very high. It is a very suitable place to live. After arriving at the amusement park, Chu Sensio bought 2 marshmallows and handed one to Tanguo. "Wow, thank you." Tanguo smiled sweetly, then buried her face in it and took a bite. Tanguo's face was stained with a few sugar strands, and she looked at Chu Sensio with a silly smile. Chu Sensio shook his head helplessly and smiled. This little guy has definitely grown up eating cute things. Does he want to be so cute? Chu Sensio stretched out his hand, and Tanguo subconsciously took 2 steps back in a daze. Then Chu Sensio removed the sugar strands from Tanguo's face. The warm touch of Chu Sensio's fingertips made Tanguo blush instantly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 376. Chapter 376, Seeing Someone Who Looks Like You. How old are you? Why are you still acting like a child? Chu Sensio was amused by Tanguo's surprised eyes. Tanguo stared at Chu Sensio with watery eyes, thinking to herself, Chu Sensio looks really good when he smiles. Since Tanguo said that she had never been to this amusement park, Chu Sensio took Tanguo to experience various facilities in the following time. Tanguo had a great time. Later, Tanguo said she wanted to go to the bathroom. Chu Sensio was sitting on a bench not far away, playing with her mobile phone and waiting for her. After Tanguo came out of the bathroom, she suddenly saw a figure who looked very similar to Chu Sensio. The figure was walking side by side with another man. The two were talking about something from time to time, holding a notebook and a book in their hands. A pen, looking like it was recording something. Tanguo frowned. She really felt that the figure on the back looked very similar to Chu Sensio, but it was definitely not Chu Sensio, because the figure on the back had black hair, while Chu Sensio's hair was flaxen. Tanguo stood there, dumbfounded for a moment. At this time, the figure from behind turned his face sideways. Tanguo's pupils instantly dilated, and his side face really looked like. Tanguo was ready to catch up, but just after running a few steps, the man had already blended into the crowd and lost sight of him. Tanguo's mind was a little confused for a moment and he walked towards where Chu Sensio was. Chu Sensio saw that Tanguo's face seemed to be not right, so he asked, "Little Candy, What's the matter with you? Chu Sensio, I just seemed to see someone who looked very much like you. Chu Sensio smiled and said, you must have read it wrong. Even if there is such a person, it must be Chu Shenming. It's just that his brother is in the research institute now, so he doesn't have time to play in the amusement park. Maybe. Tanguo pursed her lips without thinking deeply, and then left with Chu Sensio. It was already past 7 o'clock when Chu Sensio went home, and Chu Sensio had not come back for dinner at 6 o'clock. Xia Ying had already begun to feel faintly worried. Didn't Chu Shenming say that he would be back within 2 hours? It has been 3 hours, why is Chu Sensio still running away from home? Then at 6 o'clock, Chu Shenming had already returned, and he was a little surprised to see that Chu Sensio was not there. Could it be that Chu Sensio has grown up now, so the time he has spent away from home has also lengthened? However, Chu Shenming still firmly believes that Chu Sensio has not grown up. As for why he didn't come back, it was probably because of other things. So, I should be back soon. Chu Shenming and Xia Ying said this, and then sat down to eat calmly. When Xia Ying heard what Chu Shenming said, she immediately stopped worrying. In short, she believed what Chu Shenming said. When Chu Sensio came back, he found that Chu Shenming and Xia Ying were actually playing chess. They looked calm and didn't realize that there was no one in the family. This is not at all in line with the scene he just imagined admitting his mistake and then burst into tears and said he missed him. He has been away from home for so long, why are these people so cold-blooded? Don't you miss him at all? Chu Sensio walked towards Xia Ying and Chu Shenming with a dark face. He deliberately coughed twice, pretending to be cold and present, and said, ahem, I'm back. Chu Shenming lowered his voice. You can ask Auntie to heat up the food in the refrigerator for you. Xia Ying said without raising her head. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 377. Chapter 377 Is Chu Sensio in love? Chu Sensio frowned and complained, hey, please, can you follow the normal plot development pattern and comfort me, a person who just ran away from home and came back? Well, come back early next time. Chu Senmajiun said calmly. Chu Sensio. Why didn't he take the opportunity to punch him in the face when this guy was in his belly? As a result, I am bullied by him every day now. Chu Sensio failed to sympathize and simply fell on the sofa with his arms and legs spread out. Chu Sensio glanced sideways and saw a cup of Mizuki Jiawa's exclusive milk tea on the coffee table. This is the specialty of Shuimu Jiawa. Every guest who comes into play will be given a cup of exclusive milk tea. Chu Sensio frowned and asked, Cousin Xiaoying, did you go to Mizuki Jiawa today? No. Xiaoying shook her head. Then what's going on with this cup of milk tea? Upon hearing this, Chu Shenming glanced lightly and said, mine. Your. Chu Shenming was surprised, aren't you supposed to be in the research institute? Social surveys are also necessary, and many interesting phenomena can be found in places where there are many people. Chu Shenming explained lightly. Chu Sensio frowned and remembered what Tanguo said to him today, saying that he seemed to have seen someone who looked very similar to him in Shuimu Jiawa. Now it seems that that person should be Chu Shenming. Chu Sensio didn't think much and collapsed on the sofa. He was really tired after playing for a day. However, just as he fell down, his cell phone rang and a message was received. Chu Sensio opened it and saw that it was a message from Tanguo. Thank you for playing with me today. I had a lot of fun. Next time you have a chance to come to the United States, I will take you to play too. Chu Sensio looked at these and he, the standard modalities that a cute little girl would use, and he couldn't help but picture Tanguo's appearance when he said these words. Chu Sensio unconsciously raised the corners of his mouth, revealing a faint smile. This smile was caught by Chu Shenming's inadvertent turn of his head. Chu Shenming frowned. Based on his research on human micro-expressions, Chu Shenxiu's expression, is Chu Shenxiu in love? Chu Shenming couldn't help being frightened by the idea that suddenly emerged in his heart. Chu Shenxiu replied to Tang Guo'er, well, okay. Tang Guo'er on the other end of the phone grinned happily after seeing Chu Shenxiu's quick reply. Due to time constraints, she would have to catch a flight back to the United States tomorrow, and she would not be able to see Chu Shenxiu for a while. When he thought of this, the smile on Tang Guo'er's face quickly dimmed. Sigh, why do you suddenly want to go to high school in China? It's just that her family has settled in the United States for a long time, so the feasibility of this idea does not seem very high. Tang Guo'er sighed. Chu Shenming asked Chu Shenxiu, 13, what did you do today? According to Chu Shenming's understanding of Chu Shenxiu, the time range for him running away from home usually fluctuates between 2 hours and 2.5 hours, but today he went out for more than 4 hours, which is really strange. Chu Shenxiu put down his cell phone, snorted softly, and said, didn't I tell you everything? Run away from home. Chu Shenxiu specially emphasized the 4 words running away from home. Chu Shenming ignored him and then asked, did you run away from home with a girl? Good night. Please vote for recommendations. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 378. Chapter 378, When do you plan to fall in love? As soon as Chu Shenming said these words, not only Chu Shenxiu but also Xia Ying was stunned. Chu Shenxiu stared at Chu Shenming in astonishment. Mommy, has his brother become a master through cultivation? Can you guess this? Where was he exposed? Chu Shenming probably came to a conclusion when he saw Chu Shenxiu's confused look after being exposed. Chu Shenming said calmly, if the relationship is confirmed, you can bring it to us for a look. Chu Shenming acted like a parent who wants to review his future daughter-in-law, and Chu Shenxiu was ashamed. Brother, it's not who you think, it's just an ordinary friend. Chu Shenxiu quickly distanced himself from the relationship. He had no idea of falling in love now. He really just regarded Tang Guo'er as a good friend. Although he has a good impression of that little loli, it is only limited to the friend zone. It is absolutely impossible to develop it further. Chu Shenming frowned, why don't I remember any good female friends you have in China? If it's just a normal relationship, why are you still hiding it? Chu Shenxiu. He was actually speechless for a moment. He wasn't hiding, it was just that he had just run away from home and was poured cold water on his mood. How could he happily share this matter with them? Furthermore, he just went out to play with his friends, so there was no need to report everything, right? 13. You are no longer a child, you must be responsible when dealing with a relationship. Chu Shenming continued to teach. Chu Shenxiu scratched his head and collapsed, brother, I really am not in love, I swear in the name of cousin Xiaoying. Chu Shenxiu said, raising 4 fingers with a look of determination on his face. Xiaoying. Chu Shenming frowned and believed Chu Shenxiu when he saw this. After all, Xiaoying's existence in Chu Shenxiu's mind is incomparable. Since this has happened, it means that he is indeed innocent. Oh well. Chu Shenxiu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, Chu Shenming added another sentence, then when do you plan to fall in love? Chu Shenxiu has really been like a pure little white rabbit for 20 years, and has never been in love. Chu Shenming won't say it anymore. For a person like him who stays in the laboratory for more than 10 hours a day, the females he sees the most are experimental animals, it's understandable that he's not in love. It's just Chu Shenxiu, a normal person who goes to school. A good young man in life, while other classmates were secretly having puppy love, he was watching football matches and playing games. As an adult, when other classmates started falling in love seriously, he was watching football games and playing games. This person, apart from his face, seems to be the core of a loser. My brother did. Chu Sensei raised his forehead helplessly. Mom didn't rush me, why are you in a hurry? Chu Shengming, it's just recent research that makes me want to know what's the psychology of people like you who don't want to fall in love. Chu Sensei rolled his eyes, aren't you a living example? I am not an ordinary person and I am not representative. Chu Shengming said seriously. Chu Sensei. Baa. What to say? Who is so ordinary? Have you ever seen an ordinary person as handsome as me? Chu Sensei jumped up excitedly from the sofa. Chu Shengming still said calmly, according to surveys, people with outstanding looks are more likely to have contact with the opposite sex, so you are one of the few examples that interests me. Thanks to the little cutie 138.92 for the reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 379. Chapter 379 If you are not arrogant, you will die. Chu Sensei once again rolled his eyes at Chu Shengming. Is his brother using him as a guinea pig for research? It's difficult for me to communicate with you, so I'm going to calm down. Chu Sensei walked toward his room with a slumped face. Chu Shengming took out a small notebook and recorded something carefully. Xia Ying was surprised. 12 cousin, what are you doing? Make a note, it may be useful later. Chu Shengming replied. Xia Ying frowned, he really dedicated himself to science anytime and anywhere. Jun Chennai took a few days off, but due to the upcoming exam, he had to come to school. It's just that it's completely different from what Xia Ying imagined. Jun Chennai didn't seem to be affected by the comments on the internet at all. His clothes, expression, and voice were all the same as usual. When Jun Chennai came to school, the classmates couldn't help but look at him carefully. They thought they would see a dejected or grumpy Jun Chennai, but they didn't expect that Jun Chennai should eat and drink, and he was very serious in class, which was completely different from what they thought. He is indeed a superstar, his mental quality is so strong. After class, Xia Ying looked sideways at Jun Chennai and said in a low voice, Jun Chennai, I want to make it clear to you about what happened that day. What's going on? Jun Chennai's tone was brisk, and he looked like a fine person. I know that day is your birthday, and I also know why you called me, so. Xia Ying paused, do you understand? Jun Chennai frowned slightly and did not answer. You are a very nice person, and I also want to make friends with you, but only as friends. Xia Ying spoke word by word with great seriousness. Jun Chennai's eyes darkened, revealing a touch of sadness that was not easily noticeable. After 10 seconds of pause, Jun Chennai suddenly raised his lips and smiled, looked at Xia Ying and said, what are you, a stupid woman, thinking about? You said that you can be friends with this young master? Yes, I'm not happy yet. Jun Chennai suddenly returned to his previous arrogant look, and said to Xia Ying with half disgust and half joking. Xia Ying's face immediately drooped, you, or really? If you are not arrogant, you will die. Forget it, it's a waste not to mention this. Lend me your notebook, I'll take the exam soon. I missed a lot of homework a few days ago. With that said, Jun Chennai took Xia Ying's notebook, opened it, and started copying it with a pen seriously. Xia Ying saw Jun Chennai's appearance and said nothing more. She thought that Jun Chennai had probably looked away. After school, Xia Ying planned to ask Ye Xiaoxun to accompany her to Annie's comic shop. Xia Ying hasn't been to a comic shop for a long time. She has been really tense recently. She needs to relax for a while. However, Ye Xiaoxun said with a smile that she had an appointment with her brother Xian, and she wanted to go back as soon as possible to watch the basketball game with her brother Zian. In fact, they would discuss it on QQ after watching the game. Although Fan Zian still doesn't know who the person he is chatting with so far is, the two of them do get along very well. Therefore, over time, chatting with Ye Xiaoxun has become a normal part of Fan Zian's life. Xia Ying curled her lips and said, "Well, since you want to focus on over friends, what can I do?" Ye Xiaoxun laughed sheepishly, "Sorry, Sakura, can I accompany you next time? Today is really crucial." Hashtag 4.23 Writers have something to say. Hashtag. Which character in this book is your favorite? Welcome to Call Him and Confess Your Love in the book review area. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 380. Chapter 380 Silver Bug. I know, go ahead. Xia Ying smiled angrily. Watching Ye Xiaoxun's back walking happily further and further away with his skull bag on his back. Xia Ying knew that Ye Xiaoxun was actually a very ordinary girl. I like all the things girls would like floral skirts, like drinking milk tea, but of course, I don't like watching basketball games. But in order to have a common topic with Fan Zian, Ye Xiaoxun forced himself to learn a lot about basketball and watched many videos explaining basketball games. Fan Zian also likes to play games. A girl like Ye Xiaoxun, who has never been exposed to games, gradually fell into the game for Fan Zian. And all the sacrifices Ye Xiaoxun made were because he liked Fan Zian. She likes her so much that even if the other person doesn't know who she is, facing the cold computer and two completely different pieces of air can still make Ye Xiaoxun satisfied. Although Xia Ying has never met the senior Fan Zian that Ye Xiaoxun talks about, she hears Ye Xiaoxun talking about him every day, and he can make Ye Xiaoxun so obsessed with him. Then, Fan Zian must be a very good boy. Xia Ying was walking alone on the way to Annie's comic shop, because she was afraid that she would be addicted to comics and forget to go home. So Xia Ying made an appointment with the driver and came to pick her up at 6:30. Xia Ying was walking on the road when she was suddenly attracted by an inconspicuous shop on the side of the road. It was a very old-fashioned store, which looked a little out of place next to the modern store next to it. Xia Ying found it very strange. She had walked this way to Annie's comic shop no less than 100 times. I have never found this store before. Could it be that I haven't been to the newly opened store in the past few months? Xia Ying walked over and looked up at the sign. Which shop? Xia Ying frowned. The introduction board next to her listed the various witchcraft tools sold in the store. What is a witchcraft weapon? Witchcraft used by wizards? With strong curiosity, Xia Ying walked cautiously into the store. Xia Ying pushed open the half-open door, and the old ancient wood made a creaking sound. I don't know if it was Xia Ying's illusion or something, but Xia Ying always felt that the moment she stepped in, her body suddenly trembled, and her whole body became colder. This store seemed really strange. Xia Ying looked around. The lights were very dim and the store was almost empty, like an old house that had not been occupied for a long time. Is there anyone there? Xia Ying shouted into the air, but no one answered. Maybe it's because Xia Ying has read too many comics, so when she sees words like witch shop and witchcraft, she will naturally think of the wizards in the comics. Then I couldn't help but want to come and take a look, but this store is really weird. I didn't see anything for sale, and even after shouting several times, there was still no one. Just when Xia Ying was about to turn around and go out, she suddenly felt a cold touch on her ankle. Moreover, this feeling slowly invaded upward along her ankles. Xia Ying got goosebumps, and then looked at her ankles. Ah! Xia Ying couldn't help but scream, because her ankles were now densely covered with a group of small silver bugs, the size of fingernails, and there were two small pointed wings on her back. Xia Ying stared at them, and they stared at Xia Ying with their green eyes. Xia Ying shook her ankles desperately, trying to get rid of the entanglement of the little bugs, but the harder she shook, the tighter the group of bugs seemed to wrap around her. My mother is going to trick the heroine. End of this chapter.